Let the chaos reign. Chaos Reign presents Fatherhood and a look at the Black Collective with guest Amiri Browner. Broadcast April the 28th, 2019. Enjoy.
Expressed on Talk Real Solutions, hosted by Tyrone Thompson at TalkRealSolutions.com, are the views of Tyrone Thompson and do not reflect the views of TalkRealSolutions.com, YouTube, or etc. The content here belongs to Talk Real Solutions and its many contributors. Views and opinions expressed by all contributors belong to them and not TalkRealSolutions.com or Tyrone Thompson, the host, or etc. All data and information provided on the site is for informational purposes only. Talk Real Solutions makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information on this site and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or delays in this information or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its display or use. All information is provided on an as-is basis.
Okay, welcome. And like always, let me start off with this. In the world where there's crime, corruption, violence, rape, and all forms of atrocities in the world, what you're witnessing, we're living in a state of chaos. And it'll take a greater or much extremer chaos to restore the order in which the world we're living today. Welcome again tonight, everybody. This is Chaos here. And tonight's subject matter, it is titled, Chaos Reign presents Fatherhood and a deep look at the Black Collective. And my special guest, Mr. Amiri Browner from the Great Liberators Media, will join me in the discussion tonight. The call number for tonight's show is 712-770-4160. The access code is 915-411#. And like always, this show is streamed on Talk Real Solutions on YouTube. And if you want to know all the other latest news, articles, and information, I will advise you to go to TalkRealSolutions.com, where you see all the information from the latest news, everything. And also, don't forget, there is a donation where you can donate as little as $1 or $2 to the show. And don't forget about the list of black-owned banks. If you have not known, if you want to put money instead of Bank of America or People's Bank on them, you can go to a black-owned bank and start putting your money into those institutions. And we could just operate and, do a little group economics here and there. But other than that, as I open the mic, for no further ado, Mr. Amiri Browner from the Great Liberators Talk Radio Show. Are you there,
Yeah,
Amiri
what's
Brown?
going? Yeah, what's going on, brother?
All right. I'm good. I'm good. Welcome to Talk Real Solutions again. I'm not sure if this is our actual little sit down chat, but
Mm.
nonetheless, we're going to chop it up tonight. As you know, Amiri, the subject for tonight is always a present subject, and I know ABC emphasized the family, and you deal with it as well. But we're going to take a little bit more, going more into the rabbit hole tonight with this conversation.
Okay.
So, as always, before we start our discussion, if you want to give people a brief introduction to yourself, to those that are listening the first time.
Yeah. Well, I'm Amiri Browner, host of the Great Liberators Radio Show. I deal with a wide range of topics on my platform, on my channel, and even on my blog talk show. But here recently, one thing that I've been more focused on is the black family, the black family structure, and also the ways in which many black women contribute to the problems that tend to pervade, black communities all across the country. Now, when I use the term community, I'm using it in a very loose sense of the word, because the fact of the matter is that we don't have a black community. And this is a question that I always ask: is how do we define community? What's a community? A community is a space where you control your politics, you control your economics, you control your law enforcement, and you control your educational system. And so when we frame it in that context, we do not have a black community. We have neighborhoods where we are segregated, which is a form of quarantine, economic quarantine, political quarantine, social quarantine, and all this is meant to keep us from being socially mobile. And so so we don't have a community, and so consequently, what's happened in many of these neighborhoods is you have individuals who've taken on maladaptive behaviors as a form of adjusting to the environment. But it's a malformed behavior in an effort to adjust. Because what happens, they don't the behaviors aren't as such that's going to get them out of their condition. Their behaviors are such that's just going to make them comfortable with the condition. You see, so it doesn't really pose a challenge to the structural inhibitors that create the environment. It's merely going to perpetuate it. See, and so this is what has happened, and the prime indicator of this is the family structure. What we have going on in a lot of our neighborhoods is this bastardized form of monogamy, which isn't really monogamy. It's serial monogamy, where we're in failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship. And so what tends to happen is each one of these relationships, individuals will have children. This is why we have high rates of multiple partner fertility, not only of black women but also of black men. Where we have these disparate children and family structures littered and scattered throughout the black community. We have a lot of dysgenic breeding that's going on in these closed urban environments in these inner cities. We have a lot of inbreeding going on. And what this does is it creates a permanent underclass. It creates a permanent underclass, and this is where we are headed. And one thing that we often hear coming from the Democrats and white liberals and black liberals is the wealth gap, the racial wealth gap. But what we don't talk about enough is the fact that the intra-racial wealth gap is greater than the interracial wealth gap. That is to say that there's a wider class divide within black America than there is between white America and black America. See, so we essentially, in effect, have two black Americas. in American society. This is what we have going on, and one thing that I do take issue with coming from this particular underclass of American black folks is the idea that they are somehow the authentic black people, that they are the authenticity of blackness. They are the barometer of blackness. They say who's black and who's not, who's sold out and who's not, who's a coon and who's not, who's on the up and up and who's not. And see, that's one of the issues that I take. See, because many times what we hear coming from this particular ilk is the idea of someone, a black person who wants to leave the hood and go on and to do well for themselves and live out the American dream, which is their right. They'll call those individuals a sellout or a coon, but you won't call little June dog who's in the neighborhood breaking in people's houses, cussing out old ladies, abusing sisters and dealing poison in the street. You don't call him a coon or a sellout. He gets a pass. Why does he get a pass? See, and this is what I have an issue with. This is what I have an issue with, because the fact of the matter is that if we are to have any community, then in that community, crime and disorder cannot be the order of the day. You cannot have a vibrant, safe community with that element operating unchecked, uninhibited. It's impossible. See, it's impossible. You can't have a thriving black business district where you have streetwalkers and drug peddlers operating willy-nilly in that community. It's literally impossible. See, it's literally impossible. And one thing that I haven't heard from many of these individuals who then are able to walk around as some type of aficionado of black life and black quote-unquote liberation is I haven't heard the idea of sacrifice from these individuals. I haven't heard that. And one thing that I constantly seeing being posited by these individuals who represent this ilk is the idea of, well, what are you doing for the community? What are you doing? See, but I'm a big believer in Michael Jackson, man, when his song, I'm talking to the man in the mirror. You need to be asking yourself that. You need to be looking at the man in the mirror and asking that. Not just random individuals. See, it's easy to be liberal and to be generous with other people's resources, with other people's time, with other people's energy, with other people's effort. But what are you doing? What is the community doing for itself? And look, Dr. Welsing mentioned this in her book, The ISIS Papers, and that's why I'm beginning to wonder, have any of these individuals actually read the literature of some of our great scholars who preceded her? Because even in her book, she talks about how we need to foster a sense of self-help in the black community. See, not this welfare state mentality where we want to do whatever we want to do and don't care how it affects the collective group. And then we want to task others with quote unquote doing for the community, when the community needs to be doing that for itself. See, and this is a prevalent theme. So I'm beginning to wonder, do many of these individuals know how to build a community? I'm beginning to think they don't. The fact is they haven't built anything because they don't know how. They haven't done anything because they don't know how. And all we have heard, for the last few years is excuses. Even when we talk about the idea of PTSD, post-traumatic slave disorder. Well, how is it we're suffering from post-traumatic slave disorder some 100-some-odd years removed from chattel slavery, and the slaves who were let off the plantation at that time weren't suffering from PTSD? In many ways, the American Negro in the 21st century has regressed and has gone backwards. That's what I'm wondering. So, those are just a few of the things that's on my mind, that's been on my plate.
All right. Let me repeat the call number one more time. and I will soon open mics. I mean, in a little bit. The call number is 712-770-4160. The access code is 915-411#. And to all that will listen for the first time or listen, tonight's subject is titled. And I have to do this effortlessly because our people have a tolerance where they don't really get what if they'll ask what they listen to. Tonight's subject is Chaos Reign presents Fatherhood, a look at the Black collective with Amiri Brown. Now, you said a lot of things, Amiri, and one thing that stands out a little bit in regards to I would say the family structure. Now,
Right.
Amiri, I'm not sure if you noticed that with a lot of policies put in place, do you feel that Big Brother or the bigger government play a good heavy hand in regards to the more destructive of our family household for some time now, or is just we just using this as a regular that excuse that no intervention came into breaking up our family households?
I'll say this: there's a legitimate discussion to be had around the ways governmental policy affects family formation patterns. But aside from that, the fact of the matter is that we still can choose. We still can decide to do what needs to be done for ourselves and for our. Okay, I said I'll say this. Can you hear me now?
I hear you perfect. Good. We're good.
Okay, yeah. There's a legitimate discussion to be had around governmental policy and the way it affects family formation patterns. But aside from that, I still have to put that in the realm of an excuse, because the fact of the matter is that we still can make decisions. We still can choose. We still can decide. We can decide to have families. We can decide to have wives. We can decide to have children who don't have different daddies. You know what I'm saying? That Tupac shit. Yeah. Different daddies, same drama. When things are wrong, we blame mama. See, we can choose and we can decide to not have that. It's still going to come down. It's going to come down to choice. That's what it's going to come down to. See, and look, there's often a talking point that that brothers will be talking about the government took them out the home. Well, how did the government take you out of the home with the black woman, but he didn't take you from between the legs of the black woman? How is that? See, how is that? Let's tell the truth. Many brothers have enjoyed the lax sexual aggrandizement and sexual access they have had from black women. Many brothers have enjoyed that and have become accustomed to that. It only becomes a problem when they are made to piss or get off the pot, meaning when they are forced to pay child support. That's the only time it becomes a problem. But when they can have the easy sexual access and the easy sexual aggrandizement from black women, they have no problem with the governmental policies. That's incentivizing these women's sexual licentiousness. They have no problem with it then. And in many ways, and at many times, black men have elevated pleasure above principle. And this is why I say that the American Negro suffers from affluenza.
Because can you say it again and say it loud? I want to hear it clear, because
okay. Yeah, I said in many ways, the African American Negro suffers from affluenza. Many black men have elevated pleasure above principle. See, they've elevated pleasure above principle, because at the end of the day, it's not hard doing what needs to be done for the community. But what it takes sacrifice, it takes focus, and it takes discipline. And too many brothers lack that.
Mm-hmm.
See? Mm-hmm. And we are totally fine with the way things are, with the status quo, when it means getting a blowjob on the first date. You see what I'm saying? When it means getting in between a woman's leg the same night. We're totally fine with that. What we have a problem with, and what we rule, is when we mess around and get her pregnant, and she's not getting rid of the baby. Now our black ass got to pay child support.
Mhm.
See, now we got to pay child. Now the government is meddling in our family business. Now the government is breaking up our homes and our families. But the fact of the matter is this: is that none of those governmental policies that incentivizes the black woman's behavior would be as effective if black men operated a certain type of way. Black men, in many ways, they validate these women. They validate them. Because you're not looking for the sister who's more reserved, more demure,
Mhm.
who carries herself a certain type of way, who may not be a dime, a 10, but who may be a 7, but she's family oriented. She believes in raising her children. She believes in doing what a wife does. You're not going to go for her. You want to go for the easy sexual access. Tell the truth.
Mhm.
So my critique of black men has always been that they are just as much a problem as the American black women they berate and they disparage. They are in no moral position to correct black women, because in many ways they contribute to the bullshit and are always making excuses. So I don't want to hear how the government is stopping you from having a family because he didn't stop me. So what's stopping you?
Mhm. Mhm.
Period. That's what I want to know.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's what I want to know. And this has been the disposition of the African American Negro male. We have an entire culture, subculture in black society that venerates the pimp, pimpology, based on the sexual exploitation of women. See, and we don't see anything wrong with that. We don't see why and how that's a problem, and why and how that is going to contribute to a breakdown in the family structure. Because the simple math of it is this. The math is this. Casual sex is going to lead to casual children. And when you have children casually, you're going to have males who don't want to live up to the responsibility that a child is. See?
Yeah.
We've regressed to such a level, such a point that we can't even call something what it is. You have individuals right now who are shacking up, cohabitating, calling each other husband and wife. That's not your fucking husband. That's not your goddamn wife. If you haven't went to some type of authority and had a contract drawn up stating that this is your wife and that's your husband, well, then you're not married. See, at one time in the black community, it was stigmatized for a man and woman to be shacking up. It was stigmatized for a man and woman to be having children outside of wedlock. It was stigmatized for a man to have 4 or 5 children all over the goddamn place. That was stigmatized. But look at us now. These things have become normative. They've become normative. And then these same individuals who have contributed to the degradation of the black community, they have the nerve to want to turn around and act as if they are the moral authorities on what needs to be done in the black community. No, y'all need to sit down and be quiet. That's my position on this. If you contribute to any of the ills that we're talking about in the black community, you are disqualified from speaking on what needs to be done. Period. That's all there is to it. Go ahead.
That's facts. And another thing, and that's very good. And the problem with what a lot of people don't understand about you, Mary, is this, that people feel that, that you're off balance. Well, when I first came across you from another particular person, you always hold a sense of male combat and put males to the feet of fire. And one thing is evident. Do you feel, because we as black men, that we already know that we have to take accountability? That it's something that we can't run away from as men. Do you feel that? But let's go even further. Okay, we know men have to be put their foot in the fire. Before I say any further, let me go back to what you said earlier in regards to how we glorify the degeneracy amongst our community. If you look at, like you said, the pimps or the people that push and doing the negative and bastard bees in our community, that it's not looked at as a coon mentality. Well, if any black person decides to get better, and if he can't contribute to the community and he feels he'll have better success elsewhere, he's looked as either a sellout or a coon. I find it very weird that it could be in all forms of behavior that's not proper for the collective amongst our people. That's my little question. If you want to answer that.
I mean, yeah. And if these individuals are operating in any way that's a detriment to, to the black collective or the black people or the black community, then by definition, that they are cool. They are cool. It's not just a person that's going to make excuses for white supremacy, but it's also a person who's going to make excuses for black degeneracy, who's going to participate in black degeneracy, who's going to proliferate black degeneracy. See, and we have a culture of excuse making in the black community where nobody can be held accountable. Nobody wants to take a certain level of accountability. Nobody wants to take a certain level of responsibility. Do we understand what leadership is or don't? Because the fact of the matter is that in order to be a good leader, you have to first be a good follower. You have to first be a good follower. And the fact is we have too many chiefs and not enough Indians in the black community. That's part of the problem. Too many niggas want to be that guy. They want to be that nigga. They want to be that dude. You see? But the fact of the matter is that leadership is you lead by example. You lead by example. You don't lead by force. You don't lead by pointing fingers and telling everybody else what they need to be doing. You lead by doing it. By showing and proving. That's how you lead. That's how you lead. That's what leadership is. And the fact is that many brothers are incapable and inadequate when it comes to that. That's just the fact. Like many of the things I was saying about the brothers, I stand by it. Ain't nothing changed. Nothing has changed. I can look at the community and see that the fucking men are weak. Because look at the community. Because any group of men who were men and who were about them would not allow their communities to rest in this type of condition. They would not allow that. You sit here talking about holding black women accountable, but you can't even hold the criminal element accountable in your own community. You're sitting here making excuses for why these individuals should be allowed to operate. That's not leadership. That is not leadership, man. Because again, you cannot have a community where crime and mayhem is the order of the day. There has to be law and order for a community to thrive and to exist. Period. And so in many ways, the brothers make excuses for this type of behavior. They make excuses for it. Everybody's supposed to understand why this individual is engaging in behavior that's compromising the safety of the entire group. And we're supposed to let that go. We're not supposed to call them out on it. We're not supposed to hold them accountable for their actions. We're not supposed to hold them accountable for their behaviors. We're supposed to understand why he got to do what he's doing. Because the white man this. Because the white man that. When I was growing up with my father, I never once heard my father tell me he couldn't do something because of white supremacy. Never. He never told me that. I never ever heard my father say that. Not one time. But see, my father was from a different generation. 1940. So my father was from a completely different time and era, man. So he didn't want to hear excuses. Oh, why you can't do something. But it seems today that this is all we hear. This is all I hear many times from many brothers, and this is why I call them weak. Because you're very creative and very brazen and very adventurous when it comes to doing nigga shit. When it's time to fucking turn up, you're brilliant. You know how to get that done. A few months ago for All-Star Weekend, niggas spent $1 million in one night in a fucking strip club. But you asking me what I'm doing for the community. You're expecting the Nipsey Hussle model, where a successful black person come back and build a business for you. But you got money, $1 million to blow in a goddamn strip. I haven't been to a strip club. I haven't been to a strip club. And the reason why I haven't been to a strip club is not because I can't afford it. It's not because I can't go. I don't want to go. It's because it's called priorities, motherfucker. That's why I haven't been to a strip club. Because if it's as hard as everyone is saying it is for a black man to make it in America, then I don't have time to waste. I don't have time to waste on a strip club. I don't have time to waste on chasing easy sex. I don't have time to waste on getting fucking high. Because everything is already against me in this society. Every external factor is against me. So the only thing I can do, the only thing I control is what I do and how I live my life. But nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. We only want to make fucking excuses. And again, this is why I call many of these men weak, and the proof is in the fucking pudding. The women know it too. See, these women, they know they can control these men through sex. The average nigga male is controlled through sex. The women know that. And the government knows it too. So they incentivize her reckless sexual behavior and reproduction because at the end of the day, it takes two individuals to create a broken family. Period. I'm not going to put it all on the woman because if there's no seed for the woman to receive, what if she can't be a single mother? Now can she? Can she? She can't be a single mother without some nigga who's willing to run up in her raw with no fucking condom and bust a nut and then get her pregnant. So they control the black community. They control the black man through the black woman's reproduction and sexuality. And the men are too weak to wrest control of the community through discipline, through sexual discipline. What's the difference between an educated lamb and a pook and a ray-ray when both of y'all are operating with the same goddamn value system? What's the fucking difference? What's the difference? If all the men are operating with the same value system, men build families, men build communities. Men build families, men build communities. So at the end of the day, the onus is on the men to shift the culture. It's on the men. Stop entertaining these reckless ass women. That's what I would do. I wouldn't be entertaining them. I don't care how fine you is. If you don't have if you're not family centered, if you don't believe in a man being the head of the household, if you don't believe in guiding the children, if you don't believe in playing your position as a woman, then what I'm sticking my dick in you for? Why would I do? Why? At that point, it makes no sense for me to do that. But you know, everybody don't think that way. Chaos, you there?
I'm sorry. You know how my line mute? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm here at the house of Amiri Browner. You know what I'm saying? I drop bombs here, people. I don't fuck around on here. You know what I'm saying? And the funny thing, Amiri, because you take a more balanced approach, which I respect, and the problem with some of the women here, or just in general, they feel that they should continue their mediocrity behavior and want to put more male on the fire, and they should continue with their so-called reckless behavior. You know what I'm saying? You can't even mention one shit because they said we as men, we're not entitled to mention any of the reckless, goofy shit they do on their half. Everything is more centered to the men. I'm not sure what type of response in regards to that, because it seems to me, if we really talk about change, everybody's feet should be under fire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There should be no. If a man has something a lot to say about your fuck ups, just like he has some of our fuck ups, and not our fuck ups, but most us men, we're aware of what we do wrong, and some autocorrect much more than others. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But with
Yeah, see,
women,
eventually,
yeah, go ahead.
eventually a brother will come to his senses because his behavior isn't being incentivized like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
if he fuck around, then he's gonna mess around and be fucked up in the game. But a woman, she can be on bullshit from the time she's 18 to the time she's 65. She'll have somewhere to live. She'll have food on the table, clothes on her back, because a lot of these programs that are geared towards women, a lot of these social programs that's geared towards females. So it affords them a certain level of of complacency when it comes to their life decisions and their life choices. I understand that. So yeah, that's true. Many brothers will self-correct because their survival will depend on it. They'll self-correct, but the point I'm driving at is, how do we create a culture that shifts the dynamic, that shifts the patterns? So long as the patterns of behavior are what they are, then we're going to continue to see the same conditions. It's going to be perpetually passed down until you shift the culture that changes the patterns. See, and that's what what I'm talking about, and that's something that begins in each and every one of our personal lives. I make personal choices, personal decisions. I'm not where I am because of happenstance. See, I don't have a record of 19 years of consistency doing what I'm doing by happenstance. It was a choice. It was a decision. Daily, every day, every month, every year, to do what was right, to do what was best for the family, what was in the best interest of the family. See, even the etymology of the word family, is servant. And in a family dynamic, in a family unit, everybody serves. Everybody submits. Submission is not just for women. Submission is for men. Submission is for children. You can't have a thriving family, a thriving community, a thriving society without submission. Everybody submits. See, and in this way, the man and the woman are equals, because she has an equal responsibility to serve the family just like you do. See, when we talk about the American ideal of the nuclear family and the man being the breadwinner and coming home and the woman just messing with the children, dealing with the children predominantly, that was only for a certain echelon of households. The majority of Americans, that has not been the experience for the majority of Americans. That was only something that was reserved for a certain strata of successful families who had it that way during the post World War II economy, where you had the industrial boom and the manufacturing boom that was going on because of the advent of the automobile, the television, washing machines, the refrigerator, those types of jobs where a man could work at a manufacturing plant and provide for his family on his own. We're talking about a time when a loaf of bread was 25 cents and a gallon of gas was a nickel. That's not the world we live in anymore. That's not the world we live in anymore. We're fast, quickly moving to a world where it's going to take two incomes to make it in American society. It's going to take two incomes.
But
see?
Amiri,
yeah, go ahead.
All right, you dropped something very intriguing. Now, think of this. This is going to take two incomes, right? But into rhetoric, with a lot of women, let's say women create programs for teaching other women, right? Or create any program and say that the man has to be the breadwinner and women could work or not like work in that sense. You
Right.
lay out that, in the world we live in, especially the economy we live in today, it's not feasible for just a man, if he has it or not, to provide everything. And we are like more than 13% of the population.
Right.
And everybody works now. Especially
Right.
our sisters got most work in certain positions, either pushing paper or all that nonsense. They're actually working these low level fields. And some man that either is working the regular hands on or doing something else. There's not really much today that somebody is going to be above the other. And I think there's a control factor that goes into it now, when particularly men trying to be that head hold in themselves, but the women will have that, will smirk their face and look and give the black male a certain look,
Right.
for a sense of comfort. But no, so this is the world we live in doesn't really equate to that now.
Right. Right. It's like that's not realistic. I talk to white men all the time, and their wives work. See, but this speaks to the idealization of white manhood that many black women have internalized, because they just act like these roses and peaches and cream, and this is they look at them as the echelon of manhood, and that's something that they black asses don't want to admit, but it's true. And in every way, black women convey a sense of disdain towards black men, ambivalence towards black men, resentment towards black men, and they idealize white men, and they constantly use the specter of white manhood to tell black men how inadequate they are, when the fact of the matter is that what we know of as white manhood was something that was only reserved for the top echelon white male. Even during the colonial period of American society, when the founding fathers wrote in the founding documents of this country, all men are created equal, they were talking about the men of their class, the white men of their class who were wealthy and who were landowners. See, in American society, there were certain rights that came with manhood, which was the ability to own property and the ability to vote. White men as a group did not gain those manhood rights, those suffrage rights, until the 1800s. Until the 1800s. Prior to the New Deal that Franklin Roosevelt instituted, the majority
can you say it again? You said you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh,
continue,
okay,
no, you sound good. All right, you sound good. You sound good. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Prior to the New Deal that Roosevelt instituted, the majority of white people were poor. They were poor. The majority of white men, the majority of white families were poor. That's who the projects were created for white people. The projects were created for white people. There was no American middle class until the government created the American middle class. They created the white middle class. And at the same time that they created the white middle class, they created the black underclass. These are governmental creations. Governmental creations. See?
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time in American society, the wealth was concentrated only at the top. Only at the top. And in a lot of ways today, it's still the same, but the point is there was very little social mobility for the have-nots. You had the haves and the have-nots. The government created the white American middle class through the FHA programs, the GI Bill, and all these other different governmental policies. The Homestead Act that gave land to immigrants coming from Europe. You see what I'm saying? All these different programs, they incentivized farmers. They had a type of welfare program for white farmers while they excluded black farmers. All these things were created that helped to create white wealth, or what we know of as white wealth. See? So, like I said, man, in this day and in this time, it's going to take two incomes to live comfortably. And the reason why I say that is because just because you, as a woman, you have to go out and work, that doesn't relieve you from your responsibilities that you have to do at home. Because look, check this out. The fact of the matter is that men have never operated that way. If a man is a breadwinner and he still has an obligation to the household, he would cut the grass, he would do maintenance, he would take out the trash, he still has to do what he has to do around the house. So I don't know where these sisters get this shit from, where they want to act like it's one or the other. No, bitch, you need to take your ass to work, and you still have a responsibility to help cook and to clean and to keep the functioning of the household going. Just because you go out there and work a job, that has nothing to do with you not doing what you're supposed to do at home. Because even in agrarian society, in agricultural-based societies and economies, everybody works. Even the children work. The very way we get summertime in American society is because the economy was agrarian. And so during the harvest season, the kids would be let out from school so they could help with the harvest. So everybody has to work. See, everybody has to work. So it's never been this thing where women just didn't do nothing and just sat on their ass like some queen fucking bees. See? And so you have sisters who will use that as a way to dismiss the man's authority, dismiss his leadership, dismiss his guidance, and make it seem as if he's failing when it comes to being a man. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. But the fact of the matter is that the finances of the household and the running of the household is a dual effort of both the man and the woman. It takes two individuals to have the finances of a household in order, and it takes two individuals to have the functioning of a household in order. It's both of y'all. It's on both of you. It's an equal thing. It's a 50-50 thing. You both have an equal responsibility.
It's more of an equal exchange.
It's an equal exchange, man. But we act like we don't understand that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? We don't like put it in, and I can speak on this because for a long time my wife didn't work. My wife just started working full time very recently. Very recently, but for a long time my wife didn't work. I was the sole breadwinner in the household. And what happened, my wife, she would volunteer at my children's school, and so she did this for years, for like 8 years. She was just volunteering, because she had nothing else to do. And she volunteered so much and so long, the school offered her the job. And so that's how she got the job. You feel what I mean? So
that's beautiful.
Right, so
beautiful.
Right, so I can speak on it. You know what I'm saying? Like I can talk about it from both aspects. And the fact is if you want to be able to save money, if you want to be able to have the luxuries of life, taking trips, going to the spa, going to the salon, doing those things, getting your nails done, like things like that, well, then you have to help me help you. See, because the fact of the matter is if you have food on the table, if you have a roof over your head, if you have transportation and clothes on your back, well, then I am providing.
Yep.
I am providing. See, like I said, many of these sisters, man, they want to use the idealization of white manhood or the hyper successful strata of men as the standard and the metric for manhood, which nothing could be further from the fucking truth. If you have those very basic things that's needed for life, well, then the man is providing. So if you want more than that, if you want to be able to enjoy the amenities that modern living afford, well, then you have to help with that. You have to help. And there's nothing wrong with helping.
Yeah.
A lot of these women lazy, man. They've become lazy. Lazy. I do things around, I don't just work, I do things around the house too. I change the oil on cars. Like for a long time, I did my own auto mechanic work. Now it's just with the past maybe decade or a few years, I've been blessed enough to where I've had new vehicles. So I haven't had to do anything to vehicles. But when I had secondhand vehicles, I would do my own mechanic work. I would do the mechanic work on my wife's vehicle. I do things around the house. Just the other day, what I had to repair? I had to repair plumbing. You know, just different things you got to do. So what you think because I'm working, I ain't got to do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and outsource it. No, you still have to do the upkeep of a household, man. That's on both the man and the woman, man. I don't know where these women get this bullshit from. And that's what I said. I'm beginning to wonder, maybe they don't know how to do it. They're not doing it because they don't know how. But the fact is, it takes both, man. I clean up. I vacuum if I get home, and my wife now, and you vacuum, well, then I'm a
little
vacuum.
bit, Mary. You're breaking up again. Speak up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I said if I come home and my wife's not home and it needs to be vacuumed, well, then I'm a vacuum. The only thing I really don't do in my house is cook. I've never really cooked like that. You know what I'm saying? My wife does all. Yeah, my wife does all the cooking, but you know, I help clean up. You know, I put things together, repair things around the house, and things like that. I don't cut grass. Like I have a landscaper for that. But you know, I'm just saying, if you got to make a sacrifice. In a family dynamic, in a family unit, everybody serves, and the chief servant of the household is the head of the household. So when these brothers talking about being head, do you really understand what that means? Are you aware of what you're asking for? That means you are the chief servant. That's what it means.
Amiri. Now, Monica Lamb, I'm looking at the chat room, and it seems to me you have not been listening good throughout the whole time of the broadcast. So I'm gonna say this for you, sweetie. Call into the show and ask him yourself. You feel me? Now.
Yeah, tell her. I got a few minutes. I'm gonna be pulling up at work in a minute, but I got a few minutes to answer a question or two. What's she talking about?
Wait. Let me open these lines because trust me, if you're in the chat room, you'd be surprised what they're saying in the chat room. You know what I'm saying? And some of them even talk about if I cut damn grass. Of course I cut grass. What type of stupid fucking question is that? Let me open the lines because I'm not going to hold the time. First line, open up. Who's this?
Yeah. Yeah, Gary?
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
You got my line open?
Yeah.
Bro, you had me on hold so long, I forgot my question. That was like 45.
All right, so I'm going to get back.
Bro.
Hold on, before you respond,
I do want to.
Hold on. Let me see, because you don't have much time.
You gonna make me wait longer after you open my line?
Well, you see, you have the question. It slipped your mind, so I'll let you think a little bit before you ask the question.
I didn't say it slipped my mind. I said
all right, go ahead.
Hold.
Go ahead, Howard. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Damn, Gary. Now, I heard the brother talk for the last, I don't know how long, a lot of things saying are on point, a lot of common sense things, a lot of logical things. I would like to ask the brother, what's your age, brother?
I'm 38.
38. Yeah, I can tell. And that's fine. You're doing your thing. You seem like you're headed in the right direction, and I applaud that. And like I said, I agree with a lot of things you said. But at the beginning of your soliloquy, beginning of what you were saying, you said that there wasn't a black community, and you used one of the examples because of there are no black police in the neighborhood, and then you went about, I lost count after about 15 or 20 times that you saying the black community, after you said there was no black community. And if you're using for a stick, you're using something for an example of there is no black community, like no black policing, then the only community in the United States would be a white community. But I know that you don't believe that because you said the word black community about 15 to 20 times. Mm-hmm. But every other thing you said, bro, not every other thing, but, you're speaking a lot of logical stuff. I don't agree with everything,
Right.
But you're speaking a lot of logical things, and that's cool. And brother, find yourself, uh, find everything, and also, man, yeah, get them bitches, like you said, get them bitches to clean, even though they working. So, you know, go ahead and do that too, bruh. But you know you're on the right track, man, and you know, if you're gonna get on the line though, man, I did. If you're gonna get on the line, you know, speaking and preaching, bruh, you know, you need to close all the doors and close all the windows so you don't get shot at. You understand what I'm saying? But
Right. Yeah.
you know, but besides that, man, I mean, do what you do. It's good. I ain't even got time. I done waited too long. Go ahead, Gary. Y'all do what the fuck y'all do, man.
Respect, Howard.
All right.
Like that. All right, let me open another line. I'm not sure this is all facts. Hello?
Hello, what's up? What's going on? Yeah, this is Sax. How you doing? I just have a question.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about what I disagree with. I just have some questions to the gentleman. Do you know the difference between? Can you tell me what's the difference between a reason and an excuse? Because you kept on using the word excuses. What's the difference between a reason for something and an excuse for something? That's my first question.
Mm-hmm. The point is that there is no difference. One thing my father always told me was excuses don't explain and explanations don't excuse. A reason can be an excuse, and an excuse can be a reason. But at the end of the day, it's the results that matter. It's the results that matter. And if we're going to be talking about turning the tide, or stemming the tide, well, then we have to begin to look at the results of what we're doing, the decisions that we're making, and realize that the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding, you know. And if we continue to make excuses or to reference reasons for why we can't do something better, then we'll never get nothing done. To me, that's common sense.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And the reason why I asked that question is because they say when I hear the word excuse, you say that person is just giving an excuse, and that's a bad thing. That's something that they're just throwing out to not do something. But then, you know, people say a reason for something is more better than an excuse. But another question I have to say, you talk about the community not doing nothing with these so-called, I don't know, set of people who are doing bad things or illegal things in the community. My question is that have you ever went to an area where you know that people were doing illegal things and confront them face to face, or have you reported them to the police to clean up that area? Have you ever did that? You know, as a citizen, just you know someone was doing something, you know this area, you say, I'm going to get out my car and I'm going to confront these guys straight up. Have you ever did that personally?
Yes, I have. I'll just give two examples. Early on, and where I come from in West Wego, Louisiana, Avondale, Louisiana, my mother, she was involved with politics, with the politics of, quote unquote, the community. It was an organization called the West Bank Civic Association, and they worked in conjunction with the Jefferson Parish Police Department to rid our community of the drug dealers, and I helped with that. And in fact, I was targeted and threatened because of, number one, my mother's connection with it, and number two, because I was involved with it as well. But if you're going to make a stand for what's right, then you have to make a stand for what's right.
Right. You don't have to get. Okay, go ahead. So I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. The second example is a few years ago. This was like around 2008. I was living in an apartment complex, and it was a 4-family unit that we were living in, and there was this brother who wanted to do the Fugia everything, wanted to do the street life, the thug life thing. You know, selling, being involved with the criminal underworld. So I guess he got into a beef with somebody or something. And so he was getting, they shot at him. They shot our building up because of him, because they were trying to get to him. And I had bullets come through my house. Well, I had to, tell everybody to get down, and I had to get down too. So I don't know who these individuals are. I don't know what's going on. All I know is you know what's going on. You know they're asking you whatever case. So I went to him like a man, told him, look, man, we got 4 families who live here, and then you can't put us at risk because of the lifestyle you choose to live. So you're going to have to leave. You can't live here. You're going to have to move. And that's what I did. I saw to it that he had to move. Because God forbid if one of those bullets hit one of my children, what you think I'm going to do? If one of those bullets hit one of my children.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I just want to make a comment, and I appreciate, and yo, man, thank you for sharing your experience, brother. You've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, but I'm on the thing of, and I'm not trying to change you. I just listen to you, but listening to your first story, the first situation you gave, that's why a lot of people don't do that because of targeting, because of threatening. They try to leave that to the police to go ahead and handle because they get paid to do that. And a lot of people don't have guns. You have single mothers out here. They want to get it targeted. You got the snitching. So the only thing I'm saying is have a little understanding. Well, I'm just not talking about you, but me, have a little understanding and don't be too harsh. You take one step at a time. And then the second situation you did, you had to do that, man. I appreciate that. But my thing is that it's just not that easy. Coming on airways and just doing that is just not easy. It's complex because some people have family members. Some people say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and move away. I'm going to let him go ahead and if they want to kill each other off, the gang members and things, I don't know. But I'm just saying the whole thing is I appreciate you sharing your life experience. My bottom line is it's just not that easy. It's complex. That's all I was saying, brother. And thank you for sharing your situation, brother. But that's all I have to ask.
All right, you're welcome, man.
Thanks for the question. Have a nice time at work, brother.
All right.
All right. Thank y'all for respect for that. Let me open the next caller. Open your line. Who's this?
Hey, what's happening, Gary? It's ABC. Hello to the guests, Amiri. Hey, I'm doing a show tomorrow night. If you can stop by, man, I really appreciate it. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more. But just a question.
He can't. Stop right there.
Damn.
Wait.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Wait. ABC. If you ask a question now, you can ask me offline if you want to contact Amiri. Amiri Brown is a busy person. I know Barry now for some time now. To ask him if he can come do that is not really feasible on his schedule and time. You could just come ask me first for anything.
He can answer yes or no. He's trying to ask the question.
No, not answer yes or no. I'm saying if you could have hit me up same way it says and ask that for anything else. What's wrong with you, dude?
Okay, man. All right. Can I ask him a question or no? You gonna move on to the next person?
Yes, ask your fucking question, please. Go.
All right, hey, man, I appreciate what you're talking about, and particularly you being young like that. I'm a lot older than you. It's encouraging to hear a young brother that's speaking with some sense. There was one thing at the end there that I kind of disagreed with you about. I don't know so much to disagree with, but the way you spoke about it, when you talked about how your wife is working. And I don't know exactly if, where you're coming from because you said she started off, she wasn't working. And the way you kind of explained it was that if the woman wants more of, out of life or material things or something like that, then she needs to participate as far as working. And you basically talked about, how, hey, everybody works and all that kind of stuff. The only thing that I differ with you on that is I'm saying being a housewife is a job. When does she get off?
Right.
So she got a job. Us men, if we call ourselves providers, we got a job and we're providing for the home. So, you're doing your part, you're bringing that in. She's doing her part being taking care of the home. She's taking care of that, and both of y'all got one job each. If she goes out and work, then she's got that job and the home job. You got your job and the home job because you're helping at the home too. Not that you don't help anyway. So, I don't know. I think we complicate it. And it was great. You mentioned how she, what do you call it, donated time or participated in school and stuff.
Volunteered. Yeah.
Yeah. that kind of thing is what's building up the community too. It's contributing to the community. So there's kind of a difference on. I think that was a great thing, and my wife has always been a housewife. So I think
you know what. Let me expand on that a little bit, because I guess the point that I was making is that these two things aren't mutually exclusive. If you notice, what I said was that it takes two individuals to make sure that the finances of a household are intact. And so what that means, I agree. If a woman is a housewife, then part of her job as being a housewife is maintaining the budget, maintaining the family budget to where the man isn't overextended. A lot of times when we hear couples getting divorced over money, because this is a stupid ass comment that I heard Cynthia G make. Well, it's because the man isn't providing. No, a lot of times when individuals are getting into it over money, is you have one person who's spending and blowing up the budget, blowing up the deficit, creating a deficit, a family deficit for the budget, because they're spending too much money. So just because we have divorces that's taking place around money, it doesn't mean that the man isn't providing. What it could also mean too is the woman is spending too much money. And I know brothers who go through that with their women who spend too much money. It's so much so that that's even an American trope, where the man will say, "Man, she's spending all my money." You know what I mean? But the point I'm making is if you want to live extravagantly, sister, if you want to live high on the hog, and you're creating a deficit, well, then you need to create income to cover that deficit. It's not fair for you to put that on the man. You have to be in unison. You have to see it's a give and take. And the whole thing about it is this, and this is what I learned by trial and error. The bottom line is this, because we always hear men say that women are helpmeets and those things, which is true. But the larger point is you have to help each other. Period. You have to help each other.
Right on. Hey, I appreciate you, man, and I think that I understood you to say at the beginning, and this is where I'm coming from, and I've always came this way, and everybody on here comes to me for this. I say that it's mostly us men, it's our fault. We both got our responsibilities, but the way I look at it is that we very much control things. Women are more emotional, and we're able to get to how we do that, and we get in there and all this kind of stuff. If we would hold up our end, it would really make things better. So, if we are men and we own our responsibility and we take our role as protector and provider for real, then we'd be good to go.
Right. I agree.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. All right, Cass. I gotta go, man, because it's 11:30, and I gotta get on the gift.
I have one more call to take. If you want to answer my caller, and we could.
Okay, I'll do one more right quick.
All right. All right. Open line. Who's this?
Hi, this is Miss Lady. I caught the last bit of it, and I'm posing a question. Do you think sometimes women, some are, not good with money, or they're kind of frivolous and they spend without staying within a budget? But most black people haven't been taught financial literacy and how to really work together to save for common good. Be it buy a home, for retirement, to purchase, other investment opportunities, or, real estate or whatever. But I think sometimes women spend their husband's money because they're angry with them. And instead of getting into a full-blown argument, this is a way to get back at them. And also, if they feel like they're having an affair, and they're using marital assets for other women or men, that's another way to get back at them. What do you think about that?
This is true. I mean, I'll be a little transparent here. I've had situations, like I said, I've always been the financial breadwinner in the preeminent position when it comes to finances. And I've had my wife threaten to spend my money when she's mad at me. Like, if I do something to make her mad, man, she'll go spend some money, man, as a form of retribution. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is something that we've seen. Like, we have cultural references to this. When Kobe Bryant got caught cheating with that woman in Colorado, what he went and did, he went and bought his wife the biggest ring he could find with the biggest rock he could find. You know what I mean? So yeah, like, you do have women who who will do that, man. Who will do that, and that's why I tell brothers, you want your wife to feel like she's invested in it too. You want her to be invested in what you have going on, because when people feel like they have a vested interest in something, like she's vested in the household, she's vested in the finances, then they tend to be more careful with what's theirs. You see what I mean? So you want to have this thing where she's included, because like this is something I often hear brothers do and say is, women, like, for as an example, my money. That I don't do that, because when you do that, then it gives her a certain level of leeway to be reckless with your money. You see? So I always tell my wife, our money. This is our house. These are our vehicles, our savings account, our retirement plan. You see, because people tend to be more frugal with their money. So you want her to feel like it's hers too. That's the way you can mitigate that.
But if it's a community property state, it really is both your money. It doesn't matter if she was working and bringing home, but it's people can be very self-centered and arrogant, egotistical, and mine,
Right.
and it's really, why'd you get married then?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've talked about that. Well, go ahead, Chaos.
Because we have a selfish mentality when it comes to just everything as a collective.
Yeah,
it's not just
that individual. Individualistic. And you can't in a family and in a relationship.
It don't work like that.
You can't be like, it doesn't work like that. That's the first sense of community that we have. The basis for the word community is communal. Where we have all things communal. There's a sense of, communalism where we all have a vested interest in what's, and what's there. We all have a certain level of responsibility with what's there and what's going on, and that starts with the family. But Chaos, I really got to go, brother. I really got to go.
All right. Thank you again, Miss Lee, for calling.
All right. I wish we had more time, man.
Amiri?
I'm gonna make it short and sweet in the interest of time. It's just about being better as a people, making better decisions in our personal lives, and setting a better example. And I don't want to seem like I'm down on black people, I'm down on black women, I'm down on black men. But at sometimes we have to sound the alarm with certain things if we want what we say we want as a group of people, and everything that I say in condemnation of black men, I'm including myself, and I've always included myself, even though I could exclude myself. That's not what leadership is. You lead by example, not by just finger wagging. That's not leadership. You lead by example. So y'all know what it is, man. Make Black America great again or die trying.
All right. And to all that was listening, that is Amiri Browner, the Great Liberals talk radio show. And, me and him going to probably do some future shows on here. I'm just thinking, but, be on the lookout. For those that were listening tonight, thank you for listening to Chaos Rain's broadcast. And be on the lookout for the next stream. Till then, take care.
Comment, subscribe, and like the video and the channel. And always,